What is Beaufort County doing to address the availability of a qualified workforce? Well, there are three things I can think of off the top of my head. Number one is we're increasing funding for both USCB and TCL. Beaufort County has always been the largest contributor to both USCB and to TCL. We've been contributing of late about $2 million per year each. You may recall that Beaufort County funded the entire southern campus of TCL and USCB. What we've done this year is we've converted the $2 million contribution to USCB and TCL to a millage, and that means that every time the value of our mill increases, then the contribution to TCL and USCB will automatically increase. So this year that amounts to about $2.2 million for USCB and about $2.2 million for TCL. The second thing we're doing is we're making a financial commitment to TCL to support their effort to create a culinary institute somewhere in Beaufort County. I mean, since our economy is dependent on tourism and second home ownerships, obviously restaurants are critical to support that population, and we need to staff those restaurants. And we're not just talking about table servers, we're talking about food preparation people and jobs that pay $50,000 or $60,000 or more dollars per year that'll come out of this institute when it's created. And the third thing we're doing is we're working on workforce housing. Obviously, if you have a workforce, they have to live somewhere. And to that end, we're doing three things right now. Number one is we're in the process of completing a workforce housing study, an affordable housing study, if you will. Second thing we're doing, this will result in an affordable housing plan, and it will lead to the hiring of an affordable housing director to oversee this project. And it's going to be an ongoing project. I think everybody understands how critical it is to our economy, and we're committed to making it happen. The traffic between Bluffton and Hilton Head Island is an ever-growing problem. So what do we do about it? Well, obviously, it's going to involve the bridges, and it's also going to involve that stretch of 278 between Squire Pope Road and Moss Creek Drive. And the county has already committed, financially committed, I think $2 million to do a study and analysis of a bridge repair, replacement, and retrofit, and also for that stretch of 278 between Squire Pope Road and Moss Creek Drive. We're going to do that in conjunction with the South Carolina Department of Transportation. They're putting up some money as well, but we're in for about $2 million to make that happen. The second thing we're doing is we're deliberating bringing forward a penny sales tax referendum for November 2018 to pay for this, along with some other projects. This will be probably a $250 million project. So what we plan to do is generate about $80 million in a penny sales tax referendum, and between the South Carolina Department of Transportation and the South Carolina State Infrastructure Bank, known as the SIB, I think we can come up with the balance of the money to either replace or retrofit the four bridges and also that stretch of road between Moss Creek Drive and Squire Pope Road. Well, economic development has always been a challenge for Beaufort County, as it is for every other county in the United States. In the last year, along with our municipal partners, Port Royal, Beaufort, Bluffton, and Hilton Head, we've created the Economic Development Corporation, which has been in operation now for the last 6 or 7 months. And they have been busily preparing for an economic development program which will bear fruits. And what they have done recently is they've hired an economic development coordinator, and that individual is going to be on board within the next week or so. And the second thing they're doing is they have been negotiating with the Southern Carolina Alliance, the Southern Carolina Economic Alliance, for some kind of partnership, and it's been a 3 or 4 month process, and those negotiations are completed, and we now have an agreement with the Southern Carolina Alliance to help us with our economic development program going forward. So I think you'll start seeing the results fairly soon.
Thank you all for coming this morning, and thank you Hilton Head Island Bluffton Chamber of Commerce for making this happen on an annual basis. It is an honor to serve Bluffton as your mayor, and it is just as big of an honor to serve with 4 other councilmen, and I want to thank them too today. That is Mayor Pro Tem Larry Toomer, Councilman Fred Hamilton, Dan Wood, and Harry Lutz. Thank you too to Mark Orlando, our town manager, and his staff, because without them, none of what we're going to talk about today could ever be implemented. So I think through every year when I come here and I think, what makes Bluffton Bluffton? And I want you to know, I think it's down to 3 things. It's our vision, which is that we're the heart of the Low Country. We're a town that appreciates the past, focuses on today, and is planning together for a greater future. It's our mission. We take care of our citizens, the town, and each other by continuously making our community and our organization better. And it's also a dynamic strategic plan with the following action plan that our staff works on. Everything we do in our town is to enhance the quality of life for our town's residents and business owners. Since I saw you last year, you know, we've been bookended between 2 hurricanes, but we got a lot done in between those 2 hurricanes. We've enhanced our public sewer infrastructure. We have worked on a lot of our capital improvement projects, including May River Road Streetscape, Dr. Mellenchamp Streetscape, and the restoration of the Garvey Garvin House. We have acquired properties that you may have seen, and it's for passive parks, for access to the river, and for parking. 3 recent acquisitions are the Wright property, which is across from Church of the Cross, 68 Boundary, which is next to Dubose Park, and 184 Bluffton Road. We also have a Safe and Dry program for our residents that can income qualify to enhance their quality of life. With economic development, we are working strongly with the county on the Economic Development Corporation. Our corporation just hired a director, and we are now officially joined with the Southern Carolina Alliance. We're also focusing on our Don Ryan Center, which will soon have 3,000 square feet of a permanent home at Buckwalter Place. Southeastern Development Associates is developing that area, and we're going to have a big presence for business incubation, for co-working, for business retention, and things that will just complement our Economic Development Corporation. Well, there's good and bad with what we're doing in our town. We know what's coming at build out. We are 94 and 96%. We are one of those 2 numbers within those percentages under development agreements. So we're master planned for all but 6% of our town. So within those development agreements, we know what the density is going to be, commercially and residential. We have worked, and these things were put into place years before even I was on council and any of the other council members, but we worked diligently on how we can move around density, reduce density within those development agreements. We're very strict on any new development that comes before the town, how it affects the school. We really want the school to have input, and we want the fire department to have input. But we really know what we're going to be when we grow up. So how do we handle that? And I'll tell you, goes again to a wonderful council and a great staff that's constantly looking at these development agreements. I think everyone in this room has been in some traffic congestion going to and from Hilton Head Island. I am one of those. 23 years ago, I drove daily taking my children to St. Francis, and it always fell between that 7:30 and actually coming off the island around 9. So, you know, I want people to realize this has been an issue for many, many, many years. And today I talk to residents, myself, neighbors, family that do this commute, and it seems to be the same time frame. So the common sense, I guess, in me has some ideas. We've talked to staff about this. I know that there is a project in the works from Squire Pope to Moss Creek, which includes some bridge replacement, and there's a dollar figure of $180 million. It's a lot of money, and it's going to take a lot of time to raise that money, and it's going to be several years before we even get to it. So what do we do now? We've kind of tossed this idea around. Look at McGarvey's Corner to Cross Island Parkway. Let's not just look at one segment of that corridor, because it really does start into Bluffton. Why not, you know, my thought And there are people that are at a higher pay grade than me that can figure this out. But I think we should look at intersection upgrades, whether it's the span wire to the bar or the really just increasing light time on that eastern trek to Hilton Head. And you know, the cars on the other sides are a little bit longer getting out. If it can get that traffic going smoother, maybe that is a tiny little bit of a Band-Aid for the meantime. I also have noticed recently from 9 on, it's very easy. I've come over several times in the past week at 9 o'clock, and it's a 20-minute drive. So I think we have to focus on that 7:30 to a little bit before 9, Monday through Friday. I know there's a whole nother issue on Saturday check-ins, but this again goes back to Bluffton's core. We want to do things to enhance the quality of life for our residents. And if we can focus on that Monday through Friday with little tweaks and some solutions that could make an immediate difference by 10 minutes, there's going to be traffic. But if we can cut that time down, I think we should pay attention to that and see what we can do. Qualified workforce in our town is very important. It's a regional problem. It's workforce housing and affordable living. So it's almost two different not problems, but two different areas we have to focus on. And I go back to regional. We're looking at the problems that Hilton Head is seeing today with workforce and their housing. And it goes back to the traffic. You know, people are not living where they work, and I hear Mayor Bennett talk all the time, you want to live where you work. And how do they handle that? We are seeing that. You know, do we have the problem at the moment? I think it's getting there. We're not in the need as our neighbor is. But we have a wonderful committee led by Fred Hamilton, who's here today. He's the chair. We've brought in that committee. I will say that because I want to put the accolades on them. They brought together about a month ago, there were 75 different builders and developers and residents and realtors and just the whole group. And that committee said, give us feedback. What will it take for the town to aid in additional affordable living, affordable housing, workforce housing? What is it that you need? We're open because we want to stay ahead of the issue. And some really great feedback was given from that. The committee has made recommendations to council, which we've wholeheartedly supported, on incentives. We haven't seen it work yet, but we are on it. We're talking about it. We're encouraging people, give us your ideas. I go back to the regional aspect of it. We are reinitiating a group of the Southern Regional Plan, and we're calling it the Southern Low Country Board, and it's the Southern Low Country Plan because it does include our neighbors in Hardeeville. So we have the mayors of Hardeeville, Ridgeland, Bluffton, Hilton Head, the county of Jasper and Beaufort, and we are around the table talking about all of these issues that were on that plan. One of them is affordable housing, workforce housing. So I expect that to come up and just get different thoughts from different areas. Hardeeville may be doing something that we don't know about. So, you know, we don't have an answer, but we are working and diligently trying to find good solutions for that.
As to workforce availability, let me begin with this principle. People generally like to live where they work, and they like to work where they live. Now, they'll make exceptions if there is little to no work where they live, but otherwise, this precept is true. I continue to have discussions with some of our island's largest employers about workforce availability and the measures that they are taking to secure a committed, capable, and competent workforce. And I can tell you that boosting salaries and benefits is part of the answer, but in and of itself is going to be insufficient to resolve the issue. And this is an issue that affects all of us. When you consider the positions that comprise our workforce, positions such as moderate wage teachers, emergency responders, and administrative personnel, as well as lower wage workers in restaurants and hospitals, retail shops, and the hospitality industry in general, the individuals performing these services are an integral part of the community and provide the essential government, retail, and business services that are associated with a high quality of life. the quality of life we've come to expect and that we need to be able to deliver to our tourists. And let's add to the discussion the Jasper Port and the fact that many of our workers ride right past its planned location to arrive at their jobs here. The answer, I think, to our workforce needs is found in more comprehensive transportation systems that are able to quickly, conveniently, and comfortably move people onto, around, and off the island, as well as the provision of good quality affordable housing. And I'll address affordable housing in our next segment, but as to transportation, our town staff is working with Palmetto Breeze on what will be the beginning of an on-island shuttle system that should serve as a launching pad for a more comprehensive transportation network throughout the Lowcountry. I think this would also be advantageous for surrounding communities as the quality of life for their residents who work on Hilton Head Island will be dramatically improved as commute times diminish substantially. In order to address affordable housing, the Public Planning Committee of Town Council is acting as an incubator for proposed solutions using substantial input from the private sector, including some of our island's largest employers. They're advancing a series of recommendations for consideration by the full Town Council later this month. Recommendations such as, number 1, creating a dedicated staff position to direct and implement affordable housing strategies. Number 2, establishing location criteria for overlay zones and proposed amendments to ordinances to stimulate affordable housing investment. And number 3, working with our state delegation to have the criteria associated with allocating affordable housing tax credits amended. This program is responsible for the development of more than 85% of the affordable rental housing being built in America today and for about the last 30 years. Unfortunately, Hilton Head Island is foreclosed from participating in the program because of the criteria imposed by the state over and above what is required by the federal government. What does this mean? Well, last year alone, $11 million in annual credits for 10 years, or $111 million, was given out. And each of these credit dollars is currently worth about 80 cents, or $88 million in equity investment funds last year alone. How much went to Hilton Head Island? $0. How much went to Southern Beaufort County? $0. How much went to Jasper County? $0. Equitable? I think not. I also think the town could be instrumental in converting dilapidated and predominantly vacant commercial real estate stock by restoring them to clean, buildable, and saleable lots with appropriate zoning, or providing private developers with incentives to repurpose, modify, renovate, or demolish these same properties. And I'd like to say this, on a brighter note, we are starting to see private businesses initiating activity in this area right now. When it comes to the commute to and from the island, I think the question on the minds of many will be, what about the bridge? And there are actually 4 segments to the bridge, none of which we own, and one of which, the Carl Bowers Bridge, or the eastbound segment from the mainland to Pinckney Island, has been deemed structurally deficient by the state of South Carolina. And somehow, that's good news, because the South Carolina Department of Transportation has set aside $46 million to repair or replace that span, with construction scheduled in the 2021 to 2022 timeframe. Beaufort County and LATS, which is the state-approved metropolitan planning organization, contributed $3 million to initiate SCDOT's environmental reviews, which are required to proceed with the project. The environmental review should commence later this year and last approximately 18 months and include a series of public forums where your input on our gateway is welcome and essential. The mayors, managers, and other elected officials from our region are scheduling a meeting to develop a strategy for petitioning the South Carolina Department of Transportation. Our goal? To obtain $120 million from the State Infrastructure Bank to improve the corridor from Moss Creek to Squire Pope Road. The town of Hilton Head Island has plans to conduct a traffic study and assess capital improvement needs from the bridges to Squire Pope Road. And these will focus predominantly on traffic capacity, safety, and pedestrian and bicycle facilities. Now, a local match of 30 to 35% of the estimated $250 million price tag for the entire corridor will be required. The county is considering a transportation sales tax referendum during the 2018 general election. Terms that were discussed at a recent Beaufort County Finance Committee meeting include a total collection of $120 million over 4 years, with a significant portion of those funds made available for the local match I just referenced. You can anticipate a series of county workshops to vet all of this. And that's the bridge, but I think we also need to be concerned about getting residents, visitors, and our workforce back and forth between I-95 and the bridge, which will have challenges associated with it as Bluffton and Hardeeville continue to grow and the Jasper Port continues to come to fruition. We need to be mindful of that and work proactively to resolve issues. So with that as a backdrop, several months ago I approached Mayor Lisa Sulka and asked for her thoughts and help to reestablish the Southern Beaufort County Regional Plan Implementation Committee in an effort to provide a good framework to communicate about and address these challenges. And that's been done now under what is referred to as the Southern Lowcountry Regional Board, which meets monthly to discuss major developments and other relevant items to ensure that transportation flows smoothly.